question number 2, part D, which is writer's effect. We also call it a writer's a use of language question. How exactly is a writer using language to create effect? What kind of impact is that effect having on the mind of the reader? What is the reader able to understand in terms of what the writer is trying to project on paper? Does that make sense better?
Yes.
The language that the writer has tried to use, how has that created a certain effect? How has that created meaning? And what kind of meaning is projected in the mind of the reader? All of these things come together in writer's effect. And as the student, you are supposed to be the one analyzing all of this. Does that make sense? It's about this. Okay, why did the writer use this certain word when they could have used another in this place? Remember, the writer is not using words loosely here. There's always a specific reason why a certain word was used. As a student, the ball is now in our court, and we need to understand, we need to define, we need to know how exactly or why exactly the writer used a word, to what effect, what is the idea behind it, and how do we actually analyze it. How do we obviously identify the technique being used and then analyze and explain it. Make sense, beta?
Yes.
So at this point, beta, it's a 15-mark question. It's 200 to 300 words in total. You will be focusing on text C, which is, as I remember telling you earlier as well, that for question 2 and question 3, you only focus on text C. That's pretty much it, right? There's 2 paragraphs that they would tell you to focus on from that text C. For example, they could tell you focus on paragraph 1 and paragraph 5, focus on paragraph 2 and paragraph 8. And from that paragraph, define this, so on and so forth. You know what I make? Do you understand what I'm saying, Bitte?
Yes.
Right. And then from each of those paragraphs, they would ask you to fixate upon 3 choices. 3 different words and how words or phrases and how they created meaning. Good to go, Alina?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the question actually asking of you? What does it want from you? You are not being asked to find similes, metaphors, or adjectives. The idea is not to identify figurative language. It is not to identify emotive language. It is not to identify imagery of any sort. It is to make sure that once you actually find that, or you're able to identify language techniques, how well are you actually able to explain them as well? How is meaning created through that particular technique? What kind of a picture is it painting in your mind? Does that make sense, Bitter? Are you able to see exactly what the writer is trying to show you? Do we understand that, Alina?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Moving on, we understand that in this case, we have to have a good idea about figurative language and emotive language, to say the least. Do you have any idea what figurative language is, Bitte?
Yes.
So you know what similes are?
Yeah.
Can you tell me?
It's basically something you compare it with, and you use the words as and like.
Excellent. Well done. What are metaphors then?
They are almost the same as similes, but we do not use like and as.
Excellent. That's good to go as well. So can you give me an example that would define the difference between the two?
In simile, you can say, okay, you are as brave as a lion, and for metaphors, you would be like, you are a lion or something like this.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. Well done, Beta. Exactly that. Basically speaking, when it comes to our figurative language, similes and metaphors are more or less the same, except for the fact that simile may 2 things are being compared quite obviously, using the words like or as. Whereas when it comes to a metaphor, the 2 things become the same thing. Does that make sense, Bitte? The latter and the former are joined together. So you are as beautiful as a rose would become you are a beautiful rose. Make sense?
Yeah.
Apart from that, we also have something that we call personification. Do you know what personification is?
Yes.
Can you tell me better?
It's when you give human characteristics to a non-human thing.
Exactly, well done. So you could simply say the sun smiled down upon us. Do you think the sun will be smiling down upon anyone?
No.
Exactly. Or we could literally say the wind whispered through the trees. Again, the whooshing sound that the wind makes, that's just it. It's a sound. But to give it that quality, to give it that flair of for the dramatic, we use personification. Make sense, bitte?
Yes.
Okay. What about hyperbole?
It's when you exaggerate.
Good enough. Could you give me an example? Any example that you can give in this capacity, Alina?
The amount of work on me made me feel like a dead man walking.
Okay, good enough. So basically speaking, okay, let me give you another example that probably will make better sense to you. What if I say, I'm so hungry I can eat a horse? Again, I'm not saying that certain people cannot eat a horse, probably they can, but I think it goes without saying that generally people would not, right?
Yeah.
That's the case, Betty?
Yes.
What about if I say I'm so tired I can sleep for an eternity?
Yeah.
Sleeping for an eternity would mean death, right?
Yes.
No matter how tired someone is, they're probably not sleeping forever. Isn't that the case?
Yeah.
Okay, good to go?
Yes.
Okay. So that is your hyperbole. Okay, what about onomatopoeia? Have you heard about it?
The sounds that, yeah. It's the sounds that someone makes or something makes.
Okay. An example, please?
Like the water makes a whooshing sound.
Okay, good enough. Whooshing, okay. Let's be a bit more specific. For example, if you hear the hiss sound, what would you connect it with?
A snake.
Very good. What about a splash?
A
Water sound. What about tick-tock?
Clock.
What about meow?
A cat.
Very good. What about zzz? I know I sound a little funny, Alina, but yes. What do you think? A bee? Right?
Yeah.
So these are basically, it's a literary device in which a word, it imitates or suggests the sound that it describes. Make sense?
Yes.
So far so good?
Yeah.
All right. And lastly, we have alliteration. What's alliteration?
Oh, I forgot about this one.
Think a bit. No idea?
Yeah, no idea.
Okay, so alliteration is when you repeat consonant sounds side by side. You remember consonants and vowels?
Yeah.
Okay, so vowels are A, E, I, O, and U when it comes to the English language, right? I say the English language because in every language of the world, there's certain differences as well. All right? And consonants are all those letters that will come apart from the vowels, right? That's the case?
Yeah.
Yes, good enough. So, okay, good to go. Now, in this case, whatever sounds, consonant sounds are repeated side by side, that is what we call alliteration. So, for example, if I write down, let me write it down for you here. Big brown baker. So B, B, B. Do you see it?
Yeah.
All of those tongue twisters as well. Peter Piper picked up a pickle, something of that sort. There was something of this sort. I've forgotten now. What about this as well? Salty sea shells. See? But understand this, this is the repetition of consonant sounds, not the vowel sounds. For vowels, we have a different figurative device, but that's something we'll not be doing at this point, okay? All right.
Okay.
Are we good to go, Alina? Do we understand now?
Yes.
Acha, and apart from this beta, there's also the use of idioms as well. But again, we're not, focusing on those at this point as well. Chalo, let's move on. Now that we have understood that this is where we have to not just feature spot. This is the biggest problem that I come across in the answers that I mark. Feature spotting, beta. Children would just end up telling me, students would just end up telling me, acha, I could see a metaphor, or I could see the use of an adjective, I could see the use of a verb, so on and so forth, and that's pretty much it. Do you know what I'm saying, beta?
Yes.
All right. So this is extremely important to understand in this capacity, because feature spotting is not what this question is about. We don't just want you to identify the technique used. We want you to actually make us understand that particular technique in terms of how it is being used and what image is created by the writer. Make sense, beta?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Here is one quotation answered in 3 ways. Only the third is writer's effect. Let's see. Claude is personification. So this is what we call as straight away feature spotting. Do you understand, beta?
Yes.
And this is what children love to do the most. Now, I'm not sure exactly if you've actually, worked on any writer's effect questions at all at this point, but to just define this for you as best as possible, beta, writer's effect में feature spotting will not get you marks. ठीक है? वो देखना ये चाहते हैं कि can you actually explain it to the best of your capacity, to the best of your ability or not. Okay?
Okay.
And then the second one is where you just simply define the meaning. Now, in this case as well, that's not also the effect created, that's just simple meaning. So, Claude suggests scratching aggressively, because Claude, it comes from the word clause, right? And clause is something that humans don't have. Isn't that the case? Generically speaking, clause is a word that we would use for animals. Isn't that the case? And whenever we use the word claws, we understand that it's something sharp, something with talons, right?
Yes.
So obviously, we come to the conclusion that it's aggressive scratching. Isn't that the case, Betty?
Yeah.
And then lastly, how do we create effect? The verb clawed, you see, clawed, we have no idea how it's being used in context. So this is where again your understanding of connotation will come in. Remember connotation and denotation?
Yes.
So your understanding of connotation comes in what capacity was it used, right? Was it used as a personification? Was it used as a verb? How was it used exactly, right? Then in this case, clawed can obviously be defined as a verb as well. It's an action, isn't it? If I say, the cat clawed at the door, that's literally an action. The cat is doing an action. Isn't that the case, beta?
Yes.
So the use of adjectives or verbs or adverbs, we call this emotive language. What do we call this?
Emotive language.
Yes, very good. So in this case, we will define it properly now. The verb clawed makes the water seem like an attacking animal, tearing at the bank over and over. So the river feels violent and impossible to control. So let's suppose if we use the verb clawed for water, now we know that the water cannot possibly be able to claw, right? A water has no claws. But if you're using it for water, then that also is personification. You can also write down that even so it's been used as a verb, it can also be defined as personification. Make sense? And it's defining the water is violent, unable to be controlled. It seems like it's staring at the bank, right? It's impossible to control, so on and so forth. We were able to easily define meaning. Does that make sense, Alina?
Yes.
This is primarily used for when I am from Karachi, so I remember that every monsoon season. Basically, I'm from Karachi, but I'm living in Lahore at this point. To make my point, I remember every monsoon season, this would come up on the news that that the waves are at an all-time high, and avoid going to the seaside, which would literally tell us that unless you know swimming, do not put your life at risk. Make sense, beta?
Yes.
Do we understand so far?
Yeah.
Okay, beta. Good to go?
Yes.
Okay. Next up we have, so basically as you can see the footer as well, the first names the technique, the second only explains the word, only the third explains what the word does to the to your picture of the river. Isn't that the case?
Yes.
What a strong answer does. Now, you choose words that are worth talking about. Number one, words that are creating a certain meaning in the paragraph. All right, that's important to understand. Not each and every word deserves your attention. The question will define it for you, Alina. What exactly does it want you to fixate upon? Exactly like how you work on your summary question. The summary guiding question is defined for you, and you only fixate on those points from the passage. Isn't that the case?
Yes.
Yes. So you have to only discuss or define those words, 3 words or phrases that basically answers the guiding question. Good to go, beta?
Yeah.
Then exactly what they mean in the passage according to what the author had in mind. Make sense?
Yes.
And when I tell you this is no rocket science. It's only a matter of great practice, beta. It's only a matter of breaking down techniques. And trust me when I tell you this, you will be able to get to the right answer. You will be able to get to the right projection of thought. Make sense, beta?
Yes.
Explore the ideas those words carry with them. Define them, develop them, explain them. Make sense, beta? What exactly is behind that particular word? Because clawing in its denotation simply means an animal clawing at something, right? Scratching something. But if you're using it for water or for anything that is not an animal, then to what extent are we using it? In what capacity? Make sense, beta? Explain the picture or impression it creates in that particular capacity, in that particular connotation, and link these choices to how the whole passage feels, again as related to your guiding question. Good to go, beta?
Yeah.
Easy peasy? Anything that doesn't make sense, Alina, खुल के पूछो मेरा बेटा.
अभी तो आ गई समझ.
चलो कुछ नहीं आएगा मुझसे पूछ लेना, बिकॉज आई टेल यू वन इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट अबाउट दिस कि जो आपको 15 मार्क्स मिलते हैं ना इसमें, these 15 के 15 मार्क्स आर फॉर द कंटेंट, द क्वालिटी ऑफ योर राइटिंग. ऑलराइट, मतलब यू आर नॉट लूजिंग एनी मार्क्स ऑन लैंग्वेज, which means that at the end of the day you can exactly get the complete 15 marks if you put your heart and mind into this. All right, beta?
Okay.
Chalo ji, let's move on. Now choose words worth talking about. Many students lose marks before analyzing anything by choosing flat words. Acha, iske upar to I cannot stress on this enough. Being a grade 11 student, being an IGCSE student, being a first language English student, I would expect my students to be absolutely best, the absolute best when it comes to word selection. Does that make sense, beta?
Yeah.
If you end up choosing words like good, bad, sad, mad, happy, I wouldn't even expect a grade 2 students to describe something with words like this. Because these words are generic words. They do define someone's capacity of being happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are so many other words that could define your level of happiness. Similarly, your level of sadness, your level of anger, your level of hate. Do you know what I'm saying, beta? So use words that actually defines the exact feeling. They actually pinpoint, and as the reader, it would paint a picture in our mind. Does that make sense, beta?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Then, mera beta, what would be a strong choice? Instead of large, we could say towered. Just say, have you watched Harry Potter?
Yes.
You remember the character of Hagrid?
Yeah.
Instead of saying large, we could literally say he was a towering figure. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes? So, towering जो literally हमारे ऊपर ऐसे लग रहा है जैसे कोई tower type की कोई चीज खड़ी हुई है, which literally defines dominance, something looming over you. Make sense? And you literally
Yeah.
feel small besides it. Do you understand, mera beta? So far, so good?
Yes.
All right. Good to go then? Should we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on then. So, moving on, as you can see, instead of large, they have used towered, which defines height, dominance, something looming over you and you feeling small besides it, in the best capacity possible. In this case, obviously, you have to find the most specific word that fits the criteria best. So look for strong verbs, look for precise adjective, look for comparisons in any word that suddenly changes the mood. Does that make sense, beta? They actually tell you कि अच्छा how this specific thing is a little different generally from other generic things. Make sense, beta?
Yes.
Good to go, Alina?
Yeah.
Acha, let's move on. Now, this is a technique that I generally like teaching my students when it comes to answering this question. We call it peel the onion. Now, peel the onion is a very famous technique when it comes to writer's effect or use of language questions and taught worldwide by different teachers, educators, so on and so forth. I feel like a word has layers. ऐसे ही होता है ना? देखो, हर word का एक on the surface meaning है और एक under the surface meaning है. Isn't that the case? एक उसका denotation है, dictionary meaning है, and then there's another meaning which literally goes under the surface, right? Beyond the simple understanding of a human mind. But you have to delve deeper to understand that meaning. Isn't that the case, beta?
Yes.
So I feel like we peel at the layers of that word to get to all sorts of meanings it can create. Make sense, beta? Very much like the Earth's crust. Earth की कितनी सारी layers होती हैं? ऐसा ही है ना? We probably started this in science a while back, yes?
Yeah.
This, the crust, the mantle, and pata nahi kya kya. Isn't that the case?
Yes.
Yes. So in this case, bete, this is the first layer, which is meaning. Then we have associations. Then we have the picture it creates, and then lastly we have the effect. So how do we go about this? Meaning is simple. What does the word mean here? Connotation meaning, context meaning. What ideas come with it? What exactly can you associate with this word? Like I said, Claude से मुझे animal याद आ गया, right? Instantly आपके mind में क्या picture बनती है? Instantly what are you able to associate a certain word with? Do you understand? For example, if I use the phrase a beastly snarl for a human being, what would you associate that with right away? This word, beastly, snarl. What would you associate with right away?
A lion's roar.
Yes, maybe a wild animal, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. You see how we go about this, Alina?
Yeah.
हमें ये देखना कि अच्छा, don't go beyond the word, don't go beyond the surface. फौरन से क्या चीज माइंड में आती है when you read a certain word in a different context than what it usually means? That is your association. Make sense?
Yes.
What do you see when you picture it? What image is created in your mind? मेरे माइंड में एक इमेज आती है कि if I see someone snarling at someone, yeah, like a beastly snarl, if I imagine that to be a person, I would literally imagine their face to be that like that of a wild animal. ऐसी इमेज बनेगी ना?
Yes.
और बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग सी और एक ना आई थिंक गोइंग अ बिट ऑफ ट्रैक मे बी बट लाइक स्टिल कनेक्टिंग इट टू दिस. आई रिमेंबर व्हेन आई वाज यंग, I went to Karachi Zoo once आई एम नॉट श्योर इफ यू बीन टू कराची एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ योर लाइफ, बट जब मैं छोटी थी ना, अच्छा यू हैवंट बीन, खैर ये बड़े एक मजे की एक इसमें शायद हंसी भी आए आपको. व्हेन आई वाज यंग ना, तो आई वेंट टू कराची जू विद माय फैमिली. वी हैड अ पिकनिक. अच्छा, अब apparently there was a very long queue, like a long line, in front of one certain cage. अब ये उस वक्त ना मशहूर था कि लाहौर का जू बेस्ट है एंड कराची जू इज कम्प्लीटली बोगस, लाइक देयर इज नो गुड एनिमल्स देयर, सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. क्लेanलीनेस भी नहीं है. खैर, हमने भी कहा जरा देखते हैं कि यहाँ इस केज में कौन है, राइट. when we moved an inch further towards the cage, we realized that Karachi had came up with the most pathetic idea they could have. उन्होंने ना देसी वर्जन बनाया हुआ था स्फिंक्स का. अब वो कैसा था, उसका नाम उन्होंने रखा हुआ था मुमताज महल. उन्होंने ना एक डेड बॉडी रखी हुई थी लायन की, और उसके आगे उन्होंने ना जमीन में एक होल बना के एक औरत का मुंह निकाला हुआ था, मतलब एक औरत थी और वो बोल रहा था, वो औरत बोल रही थी. औरत, दैट वाज अ ट्रांस मैन बेसिकली. सो आप इमेजिन करो कि एक डेड एनिमल की बॉडी थी. देयर वाज अ कंप्लीट दुम एज वेल. आई एम रियली बैड एट आर्ट, सो फॉरगिव मी फॉर दैट बेटा. और आगे से ना मुंह एक आदमी का था, ठीक है, लाइक अ ह्यूमन फेस, ठीक है. और वो लिटरली हमसे बातें कर रहा था, वो हमसे बातें कर रहा था हम सबसे, और उसका नाम था मुमताज महल. एंड लिटरली वो पूरी लाइन कराची जू में वो उसके ऊपर लगी हुई थी. उसकी पूरी बॉडी, अब मुझे नहीं पता कि वो प्रिजर्व बॉडी थी, वो वाकई में एक प्रॉपर एनिमल की डेड बॉडी थी, क्या था, बट वो उन्होंने ना प्रॉपरली इस तरह से, और उसकी ना वो बॉडी और फेस तक उन्होंने ना कपड़ा डाला हुआ था ताकि पता ना खास चले. तो वो मेरे माइंड में ना वो बीसली स्नाल से ना वो इमेज आ गई एकदम से कि एक आदमी अगर बीसली स्नाल करता है, लेट्स सपोज अ ह्यूमन डज, तो probably they would have the face of a wild animal and the body of a human being. You know what I'm saying? So that was a very very funny sight. खैर, moving back. अच्छा, so अब we have the effect. Lastly जाके हम समझते हैं कि effect क्या होता है. So what does that make the place, person or moment feel like? We understand tone through it. We understood meaning being represented through it. You know what I'm saying? Atmosphere कैसा है, so on and so forth. Does that make sense better?
Yes.
Any questions at all?
No.
Acha. So it is a way of thinking. It is not a paragraph pattern to repeat 6 times. Some words may have fewer layers. Stop when you run out. Cambridge का मतलब बेटा कभी भी ये नहीं होता कि you keep on writing a lot. You know? The point is not to write a lot. The point is to write concise, with precision, and make sure that it's controlled writing that's given the exact meaning that is being asked. Make sense?
Yes.
So let's suppose अब my sentence is the market swallowed us whole. अब swallowed से एकदम से आपके mind में क्या आया है, मुझे बताओ. Association क्या बनी है?
A whale eating something.
Very good, Alina. That was the picture that came in my mind as well. और a snake, क्योंकि हमने बचपन से सुना है कि a snake swallows their prey alive, right? Properly, it doesn't, break it up into pieces, right?
Yes.
Very good, excellent, मेरा बेटा. What picture do you see now? माइंड में पिक्चर क्या बनी एकदम से?
Whale वाली.
नहीं, market swallowed as a whole.
Market वाली. There's a huge crowd and there's not enough space to like move freely.
नहीं, देखो, अभी जब मैंने swallowed is the word that we are fixating on, right? ये हमारा कीवर्ड है ऑटोमेटिकली. मीनिंग हमें समझ आ गया कि कॉन्टेक्स्ट में यहाँ पे ये हो रहा है कि प्रॉबेबली यहाँ पे इतना क्राउड है, chaotic environment है कि people are literally बस they're all mixing into one another, right? We cannot figure out who's who. और हमारी एसोसिएशन ये थी कि मे बी अ वेल, मे बी अ स्नेक, मे बी अ ह्यूज क्रीचर दैट swallow something instantly, completely. तो पिक्चर ये बनी जैसे मार्केट ने एकदम से अपना मुंह खोला और सबको खा लिया, राइट? Isn't that the case? The market swallowed us whole. Make sense? That is the picture. अगर आप अपनी आंखें 2 सेकंड के लिए बंद करो तो that will be the image that will pop up in your mind. Isn't that the case?
Yeah.
Do we understand that, beta?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
good to go.
Yes.
And then lastly, we have effect. So they disappear into the market completely. That's your meaning, the connotation meaning. Association is swallowing belongs to a large creature eating something smaller whole. Picture the market becomes almost alive with the mouth and an appetite. Basically, it's come alive. Again, this is also personification as well. Isn't that the case?
Yes.
So you can either talk about it in terms of personification or you can talk about it in terms of a verb as well. Make sense? You can identify either language technique and then explain it properly that way. Make sense, beta?
Yes.
So you could say the verb swallowed, you could say the use of personification swallowed, and so on. Make sense?
Yeah.
And then effect, the visitors seem small and powerless, the market impossible to escape. Now I'm not sure if you have been to Lahore, but if you have been to Lahore, you probably might know of Shah Alam. You have. Do you know of Shalmi? Shah Alam market?
Yes.
It's one of the oldest markets in Lahore. It's a wholesale market and it's literally in Androon Lahore, right? So Androon का हम सबको
Yes.
पता है कि it's the hustle and bustle, the chaos of Androon and the liveliness of Androon as well. मुझे तो खैर मजा भी बहुत आता है अंदरून में जाने का because I feel like that's the Lahore that we should be studying, that we should be knowing more about. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
anyone who goes to Shah Alam knows this कि if you go on your car or if you go on any of your own transport, buy good parking. Isn't that the case? So, there's a high chance that you will not be able to get nice parking. You will have to walk a lot to the markets because obviously आप गाड़ी लेके अंदर नहीं घूम सकते पूरी तरह से. Isn't that the case? And it's best if you go on public transport. So मैंने हमेशा से ये मुझे याद है एक बार तो it became so bad because unfortunately मैं मगरिब के टाइम पे चली गई and वो closing time भी था तो I remember कि my house was simply 30 minutes away from Shah Alam but it took me about 2 hours and a half to get back home, just to get back home. That was the traffic there. So do we understand, beta Alina?
Yes.
Were we able to peel the onion properly on this one?
Yeah.
So let's see how it comes alive in writing. So the verb swallowed presents the market almost as a huge living creature consuming the visitors. They disappear completely into the crowd, which makes it seem overwhelming and far more powerful than the people entering it. Once you enter this marketplace, good luck coming back in a couple of hours, right? वो ये बात कहते हैं ना यार वहां तो सुबह गए तो रात ही हो जाएगी. जैसे कराची का मुझे नहीं पता, अगेन आपको नहीं पता होगा, बट कराची का सदर इज ऑल्सो फेमस फॉर दिस कि भाई वहां जाने का मतलब ये है कि सुबह गए तो रात में ही वापस लौटेंगे. गुड टू गो बेटा?
Yes.
अब you can simply say कि any lengthy explanation that this is personification, that's not there. Naming the technique is not what earns the mark. हम ये बता सकते हैं कि this is personification. Reader would still be able to understand. Or you could simply use that we have used emotive language. So you could also explain it through the use of emotive language as well. Make sense, beta?
Yes.
Okay. So peeling a comparison. Now a simile or metaphor has the same layers. Ask what the second thing is like. Then give those qualities to the first. For clouds march toward the town like an invading army. An army arrives in numbers, moves in formation, and is hard to stop. So the storm seems organized rather than random and certain to arrive. In this case, this can still be personification as well. Isn't that the case, beta?
Yes.
Up again, at the end of the day, this is where your expertise as a language student will come in, Alina, and you will have to figure out what particular device is being used. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good to go, bete?
Yes.
But इसमें एक मजे की बात मैं आपको बताती हूँ. This is both personification and a simile, isn't it?
Yes.
Clouds marched जो है ये आपका personification है. And like an invading army, this is a simile. Isn't that the case?
Yeah.
Are we good to go, beta? So far, so good?
Yes.
Chale.
Yes.
This is a model answer now, bete, for your convenience. Now, these are two extracts that I've given, imagining them as paragraphs, all right? And from these two paragraphs, we have given the idea. अच्छा, अब ये देखो, ये रहा आपका task. Reread the description of the market in paragraph 1, beginning the market swallowed as whole, and then the side street in paragraph 2, beginning then a gap open. Okay? So the market is the idea of paragraph 1, the side street is the idea of paragraph 2. Okay? Select three powerful words or phrases from each paragraph and explain how each is used effectively. So the guiding point is that in paragraph 1 we will be fixated on the market, and in paragraph 2 we are talking about the side street. Isn't it this the case, beta?
Yes.
And then 200 to 300 words hamari word count hai, and this is my answer on paragraph 1 and this is my answer on paragraph 2. So let's read paragraph 1 and its answer first. The market swallowed its whole. Voices ricocheted between the narrow stalls. Ricocheted, sorry. And the current of people carried us forward whether we wanted it or not. Above the roofs, a thin ribbon of smoke curled into a pale sky. अच्छा, अब पहले तो मुझे ये बताओ अलीना, can you figure out the main keywords?
The first should be ricocheted, and the second curled.
Oh, a thin ribbon of smoke curled into the pale sky. Okay, so the market swallowed. That won't be it?
Yes.
That would be it as well, right?
Yes.
Ricocheted.
Okay, so that would be it. Then ricochet. Then could we say the current of people?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, let's see. So paragraph 1 makes the market feel like a living thing that overwhelms the visitors. Overwhelm ही हो जाता है ना बंदा अगर किसी बहुत chaotic और busy place में जाना पड़ जाए. Swallowed as whole. Now you have to quote the text as well, Alina. That's important. So quote the text, quote that word, quote that phrase that through which you are creating meaning or defining meaning. Does that make sense, better?
Yes.
It swallowed its whole, turns it into a creature large enough to consume people in one movement. So they are not merely surrounded but absorbed and seem powerless from the opening sentence. So from the very onset of it, the image being created is that the atmosphere is one of helplessness, and that people can do nothing against the crowd of people in the market, right?
Yes.
Then the impression grows in ricochet, a word belonging to bullets rebounding of hard surfaces. This is what it means. जब आप bullet मारते हो, like when you fire at a surface that's hard, for example, like maybe लोहा, right, iron maybe, it might ricochet off it. पलट के वापस आती है. Make sense?
Yeah.
So this is a word belonging to bullets. It's a foreign से image बनती है of bullets in mines. Of bullets rebounding of hard surfaces, which makes the voices sound violent and uncontrolled as they bounce between the stalls. You see this? Voices ricochet between the narrow stalls. Make sense? जैसे वो पलट के वापस आ रही है दूसरों के कानों में. इतना शोर है. They're not absorbing into that stall, into that shop. Make sense, beta?
Yes.
And then lastly, current of people. Current से अब हमें एकदम से क्या होता है? पानी, right? Like waves.
Yeah.
Like, so it seems like they're literally floating. कोई direction नहीं है. So even the crowd becomes a current carrying them like something floating, unable to choose a direction. मतलब they are simply going with the flow. चलते जा रहे हैं बस. इधर उधर आगे पीछे. Isn't that the case, beta?
Yeah.
Do we understand, Alina?
Yes.
Good to go?
Yes.
And then you have a gap open between two shutters and the noise shut off behind us like a door. Nothing moved. Our footsteps sounded suddenly enormous on the stones, and the silence pressed in from the walls, so that we found ourselves whispering, "The side street." Let's see how meaning is created in this particular passage. But can you identify a few phrases that you think contribute to meaning?
One should be enormous and
Okay,
maybe
enormous.
pressed in or whispering.
Okay, that's it. Okay, so you see, wait. The second paragraph reverses this, right? पहले तो बेटा हमने ना एक overview देना है. Overview is extremely important as well. One line has to be an overview line, not an introduction, just an overview what this paragraph is about. Make sense, Alina? And Cambridge is particular about this, you get marks for this. So each paragraph needs to have an overview. That's important, beta. Okay?
Okay.
Then we move on. The noise shut off behind us like a door. A complete sentence has been quoted. A comparison suggesting something solid and instant rather than a gradual fading. Something that happened all of a sudden, right? Not something that happened gradually. Make sense? As though the two places were sealed apart. That beyond the doors is something else and behind the doors is something else. Make sense?
Yes.
In the quiet, their footsteps sounded suddenly enormous. And the exaggeration shows how sharply, exaggeration aa gaya, hyperbole aa gaya, right? How sharply their attention has changed. Now, the attention is on them.